Hey, what's up everyone? 8-Bit Opa here. First off, I want to start this video by thanking each and every one of you who have subscribed over the last several days. I started off my D4 cinematic video by mentioning that I had 6 subscribers, and you guys came through, man. I've got 18 as of right now, and a lot of people will say 18, that's nothing, but no, it is something. It means a lot to me that 12 more of you have said, hey, I want to see what this old gamer has to say about things. I've seen some requests already for some other reactions. I am going to get to those. Reactions aren't going to be the primary focus of the channel, but it is going to be part of the mix, and so I hadn't planned on it, but I like doing them now that I've done a couple, so, you know, we'll see what goes from there. Today we're going to start into a new, everything on the channel is new. It's going to be my take on reviews of some games. I do have a video planned here in the next few days talking about what it's like to be an older, I'm not old, I am kind of old. Review Tech USA just did one of those videos, and it's going to seem like I'm stealing his idea, but I assure you that I'm not. I'm pretty sure that most folks my age or older or even similar to my age who game have some of these same thoughts and obstacles. But for now, we're going to get into, should your grandpa play Call of Duty Modern Warfare? So a history about me and Call of Duty. A friend of mine back in 2008 was playing Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, the original Modern Warfare on PS3. And I was over at his house and I was playing with him, and I really got hooked on the gameplay. This friend is an Iraq veteran, a couple tours, combat veteran. Playing Modern Warfare for him back then, 2008, was, at the time, he says, hey man, this is the closest thing that I've seen to a simulation of how it was over there. I mean, obviously there's some liberties that game developers take when they're making games like that. He was more talking about the atmosphere, the ground clutter, the blown up cars, the buildings being all messed up. And playing with him made me really want to go ahead and dive into the PS3. Prior to that, I didn't have a PS3. I didn't have a need for it. I was still doing just fine on my PS2. As a matter of fact, at that point in time, I was still playing SOCOM 2 US Navy SEALs. I loved that game back then. But jumping forward to this year, first off, I want to say they did a really good job with the name. I feel like the Modern Warfare name carries a lot of weight for those of us who were really into it back in the late 2000s, 2007, 2008 timeframe, 2009 even. Gameplay-wise, logging into it right now, the biggest frustration that I have, like if I had to knock off any points, whatever, it's fucking shaders, man. Every time I log into the damn game, it's downloading shaders. It'll start with online or multiplayer and then move to campaign and then move to co-op. Every time I log on, it's the bane of my existence, and I put it out there on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter, by the way, shameless plug. You can follow me on Twitter or Instagram, same name, at 8BitOpa. I put it out on Twitter that I was downloading shaders all the time, and people that I know that also play on PC chimed in and said, yeah, I'm dealing with the same shit. Every time I log in, it's shaders. And sure, it only takes a few minutes, but still, it's like if I want to log in and get a quick match in, the last thing I want to do is wait for shaders to download every time. This is a big buzzkill, and I wish they would do something about it. So let's jump into gameplay a little bit. I've got some footage going, as you can see. I'm not going to have campaign, multiplayer, and co-op footage. It's just the footage that I took over the last couple days. Some of it's higher resolution than others. I mean, you can deal with whatever. First of all, I want to say how much I love the campaign. The campaign really hit me hard in some places. It really felt rewarding in other places. The first thing that, and I think a lot of people are already talking about this, so if you're watching this video, chances are you've already watched other Call of Duty videos, so this isn't anything new or groundbreaking, and it's been out a couple of weeks, and I'm a little bit behind, but it's whatever. The difficult situations that they put you in, I think, is what really sets apart Modern Warfare from other games. It's not a sterile environment. You're not playing in a box. You're in London. You're in the United States. You're in, Uzbekistan or whatever it's called. It is a made-up country as far as I know, but it's dealing with real-world problems that happen in a real-world modern warfare environment. And you get hectic scenes, you know, London, when the bomb goes off and you're having to take down terrorists, but there's civilians running around everywhere. And you come around a corner and there's a suicide bomber and he blows up and it kills you. You're going through houses in the middle of the night with MVGs on, and you have to make the decision, to shoot a woman who you had just rescued. You're kidnapping families to use as leverage for information at the end. You're playing point of view as a child, and you're having to, to kill this guy who you just witnessed murder your father in your home and then run away from, his comrades. No pun intended there. These difficult situations, it makes me wonder if having experiences in life or in combat or war make this any easier or more difficult, or if there's generational ease or difficulty when dealing with this. I think for me, one, I'm a veteran. Again, I'm not a combat veteran, and I keep throwing that out there because I think there's a lot of posers out there, and I don't want to ever be accused of that. But I am a veteran, and I have seen some messed up shit. Does dealing with those kinds of things, especially for a combat veteran, better prepare you to deal with that kind of stuff in a video game? And I can already hear it. It's a video game. Don't take it too seriously. But no, there are real feelings when you're doing these things, because for that moment in time, you're living that moment. You're making the decision, and as much as it's computer generated graphics or interface or whatever, you're looking at a representation of a human being and making the decision, do I have to kill this person or not? But does it make it easier that I've been around longer, that I can say, hey, this feels kind of shitty, but I've got to do it so I can move forward? And I think that's not only something that we can see in video games, but it's a life lesson. How many times in life do we see, you know what, this is a really shitty decision that I have to make, but I have to make it and I'm going to move forward from it? Do younger folks or folks who have not experienced these kinds of things in life, do they take it harder than somebody like me or a combat veteran might take it? It's hard to say, but I thought, I'd love to hear your take on it. I don't want to ramble on too much here because I've got a few other things to get through. The campaign was very short. That's another complaint out there. But I don't know, man. I felt like it was just the right length. And maybe, again, this comes back to, I'm going to get to the conversation around playing games as an older person. I don't want to say an old person, okay boomer, but I appreciate the short story because I can get through it, 6 hours maybe I spent on it, maybe a little longer, maybe a little less, but the gameplay I thought was short, but I needed it. How many games do I have sitting in my library that I haven't played all the way through because I either don't have time or I got burnt out on it or I didn't come back to it soon enough and I forgot all the controls or whatever. So on the campaign, I'm giving it 5 walkers out of 5. So I need a rating system because we're talking about old folks. We're giving out walkers here, so 5 walkers. So let's move on to multiplayer mode, which is what a lot of people go straight into. I do want to comment first and foremost that I really applaud cross-platform functionality of the online system. It did mean that I had to buy 2 copies of this game on launch weekend because I bought mine for PC and then my daughter wanted to play this game really bad, so I bought it for her on PlayStation 4. And it was nice because I was able to then, once she made her little Activision ID, we could group up together and play. She's a lot better than I am. See, she had no interest in the campaign mode, so this kind of ties in together. She had no interest in it. She said, I've never played a campaign mode. She's really good, actually. But it's really nice to look on that menu and see yourself there with your little mouse icon, the Battle.net icon, and see others that are controller and Xbox, controller and PlayStation. But then you do every now and then get to see the ones that are mouse PlayStation or whatever, and it's like, oh, okay, so these people recognize that PCs are the master race. The gameplay of multiplayer, though, aside from feeling like a modern day trip to Popeye's Chicken trying to get one of them sandwiches, I felt like I needed to pitch a tent with all the camping going on. I know you've seen that. Everybody's been talking about it. The camping is kind of a win-lose. I don't know how I want to put that, but nobody likes the camper because you're trying to move forward, you're trying to progress, maybe you're trying to push an objective or whatever, and your campers, bam, I'm dead. And you can see the kill replay that they're just hanging out somewhere in a doorway, and you couldn't see them because of different shadows or whatever. But it also works to the other side where if I want to camp, I can camp. I'm not that good at it. The developers did come out and say several times that they wanted to make the maps more porous, to make it easier on newer players. I don't know if it's easier or not. I'm not a newer player, but I'm definitely not as good as most people out there, and I'm fine with that. I think the porous piece of it makes it a little easier sometimes, but it also makes it more difficult because I can feel like I'm secured to a door frame or a wall, having not seen the door frame or window right next to me because there's just too many of them to keep track of mentally. One of the things I don't like is how easy it is to spawn camp. I think Call of Duty has always done a good job, from what I can tell, of if people are starting to camp too hard on the spawn, the AI will pick that up and you'll change spawn places. But what I see now is that if the other players are smart enough, they won't physically push all the way into your spawn. Instead, they'll find their campground and they'll pitch their tents just far enough away where they can pick you off as you're spawning. So it's kind of like a spawn camp at range, if that makes any sense. And that's really a pain in the ass, because as soon as you spawn, there you go, you're dead. Now, some of the dumber players on their side will say, oh, they're farming kills over there, let me run over there. And they'll fuck it up for them, which is good for us, because they'll run in there, they'll ruin the spawn camping, and they'll cause us to spawn somewhere else. Another piece of criticism I have for multiplayer is I think that air support from your kill streaks lasts entirely too long, and I say that from both sides of the coin. I feel like when somebody has a Harrier, a VTOL, whatever, if they have a Harrier up or a helicopter up shooting, God, I feel like they're up there way too long. And I guess you can shoot them down, I don't know, I always feel like I have to hide. But it just feels like they're up there forever. You spawn, you get shot. You spawn, you get shot. It just lasts so long. I think they should dial that back a little bit, tone it down a little bit. Kill streaks are fun to have, and it needs to be meaningful once you get to that point. I just don't think it needs to be that excessive. Last thing is the the call out stuff. They did just tone some of that down a little bit, and I think they have plans to implement more scale downs, but the call outs, my God. Planting clay, enemy spot, enemy in the area, UAV online. Always is constant chatter. I feel like some things are redundant. I feel like you don't need to be told that your friendly UAV is online, because if you're not looking at your map, why? But you should be able to tell by your map that your UAV is online, so you don't need an announcement for that every time. Anyway, maybe I'm nitpicking, that's how I feel. So multiplayer, even though that's like the main feature of for a lot of folks, for any Call of Duty game, that's getting 3 walkers. And I struggled with 3. I almost gave it 2, but I'm giving it 3 for the benefit of the doubt, because I'm working on nostalgia here, so forgive me. Next up is co-op mode. Man, gosh, so far I hate it. I'm not a big fan of co-op mode at all. First of all, I think the queuing system, I don't think it's really all that intuitive. I feel like I was looking for how to queue for longer than I should have. I didn't know that I was in queue. Maybe it's just me, I don't know. It didn't feel right when I was in the co-op. Secondly, I only attempted 1. And even at that, I didn't finish it. And we were already 30 minutes into it. I just felt like there was too much going on inside of it. At some point, I'm bored with the mission. I'm tired of it. Enemies spawned too quickly. There were too many of them. The reward from completing the co-op just didn't feel... I don't even remember what the reward was. But by the time we had gotten to that point, I really didn't give a shit what it was. I was just ready to be done with it. The enemies got more challenging and more challenging, and I can appreciate that. I really can. I think if you're in something like that, it needs to get progressively more difficult. But after the 3rd server that we blew up, the sky filled with tanks, like a flock of tanks falling from the sky from parachutes. I saw that, and I'm like, okay, this is just too much. I'm fucking done. And I logged out of that shit, and I haven't been back in, and I don't know if I'm going to go back in there or not. They have tied some of the gameplay things together to try to incentivize it, and I can appreciate that. So maybe it should be a lot shorter. I don't know. Maybe you're hearing this and you're like, why the fuck is it taking you 30 minutes? But anyway, co-op, 2 walkers, and I almost gave it 1 walker, but I didn't want to be that harsh, because I think it can be fun, maybe in some different circumstances. It could have been a bad day. 2 walkers. Last category, graphics, top fucking notch. Call of Duty, in my opinion, has set the standard on realistic looking graphics. There were times in the campaign, for instance, where I had a hard time being able to tell when it moved from a cinematic to gameplay. The transition was so smooth, everything looked so good on the screen, and I feel like it needs to in this kind of environment, because you're trying to, I don't want to say you're simulating war, but you are trying to generate authentic feelings for authentic situations. So I do think that level of engagement and immersion is accentuated by the level of detail in the graphics. I think it's phenomenal. Call of Duty absolutely sets the standards. Hard to give anything else but 5 walkers to this. So overall on Modern Warfare, I'm giving it it's 15 out of 20 total walkers available. I thought that's 75%. I honestly thought If you asked me to rate it just off the top of my head, I probably would have said 80-85%. 75 is still good, and by no means am I any kind of expert. I mean, I have been gaming since 1981. That's my rating. I thought it was going to be a little higher than that, but you know, breaking it down by category, and hell, it could have been 73 out of 20 if I'd given multiplayer 2 walkers and co-op 1 walker like I almost did. So, you know, 74, let's say 74. Even though I gave it a 75 here, there's 2 that I didn't give it, blah, blah, blah. Should your grandpa play Modern Warfare? And I say, hell yeah, he should. Especially if he likes shooting shit and blowing shit up. Fuck yeah. I'm a grandpa. I like playing it. I enjoy the game a lot. I think I enjoy it more than the rating that I gave it, but maybe I don't. Maybe I've got rose-tinted glasses on because I like the Modern Warfare from 11 years ago. But yeah, follow me on my socials. My Twitter and my Instagram are both at 8BitOpa. I'm very active on Twitter every day, all the time. I like interacting with people there. So until next time, thanks for coming along, and we'll see you later.